Hello everyone. Microsoft has recently announced the public preview of instance mix in virtual machine scale sets. So in this video, I'll explain what is instance mix feature and how to use this feature in the virtual machine scale set in the lab. So let's start with what is virtual machine scale sets. VMSS is a compute resource which is designed to manage the auto scaling of the virtual machines. It is mostly used for the application which require the scale out feature. So that means, based on the demand, application requires more virtual machines. And the virtual machine scale sets, along with the scaling, it takes care of the high availability, where the virtual machines can be spread across the different availability zones as well as the different fault domains. So during the creation of the virtual machine scale set, there are two different orchestration modes. One is uniform, another one is flexible. As the name suggests, in the case of uniform, the virtual machines will have the same size as well as the configuration. And this orchestration mode is used for the stateless application, where the virtual machine size will be identical. Like for example, the front-end web applications which are behind the load balancer and want the similar size virtual machines in the backend. Or the containerized application where the size of the virtual machine doesn't matter. On all the same size virtual machines can be used because the containers are stateless. Now the another orchestration mode is flexible, in which virtual machines act as a different entity to virtual machine scale sets. So that means you can use the different virtual machines, their different sizes and the configuration. And based on the requirement of the application, you can assign the virtual machines to that application. So in the case of the flexible orchestration, you get the flexibility along with the benefits of virtual machine scale sets, where you get the high availability as well as the auto scaling option. So now let's talk about the instance mix on virtual machine scale sets. First of all, it's a preview feature, and to use it, you have to enable this feature in your environment. So what are the key features of instance mix? It has flexible VM combinations, so you can mix and match different type of virtual machines in the VMSS. Second one is the cost optimization. So based on the type of application, if your application is less demanding, you can use the general purpose virtual machines. And if your application requires the CPU intensive or the memory intensive virtual machines, you can use those in that case. So all these virtual machines can be mixed and can be used in the single scale set. Simplified management. So you can mix and match the virtual machine and you don't have to manage different virtual machine scale sets for different applications. And the last one is enhanced performance. So based on the type of the application, you can right size your virtual machines. And this way it enhances the performance. However, this feature is in public preview, so there are certain limitations also. Like currently it's only available for few regions, which are West US and US2, East US and US2. And you can only use this feature with the flexible orchestration mode. And for now, you can only choose the 5 different virtual machine sizes. So if you have enabled this feature and you have currently running different scale set in your environment, you still can't change those scale sets and enable this instance mix feature on them. So once it's created, you can't change anything. And if you're creating a new virtual machine scale sets with a different VM size, and once it's created, you can't change the VM size in those VMSS also. So these are the limitations for now, and once it will be generally available, the things will change. So now in the lab, I'll show how to enable instance mix preview feature first, and then show how to deploy instance mix using the virtual machine scale set. I am logged into Azure portal now. And first I want to show you how the virtual machine scale sets behave when we don't have instance mix feature enabled. So let's go to virtual machine scale sets, create a new one. Let's select the resource group. I'm selecting RGKV. You can create a new resource group also and test VMSS01. I'm choosing the region Australia East. And the reason for choosing the Australia East is because instance mix is not available in this region. And I have the instance mix feature already available in my environment, which I'll show you soon. So now if we'll choose the flexible orchestration mode and go to the virtual machine size, you can only choose one size. Just wanted to show you that if the public preview feature is not enabled, then you can choose only one size while creating the virtual machine scale set. So now to enable the public preview feature, you have to go to Cloud Shell. and you have to run these commands. This is to enroll in the preview. So this is to AZ feature register is to register it, but let's first check whether this feature is enabled or not. Let me copy this command, which is flex VM scale SKU profile enabled. If I run this, it will show for me it's registered. But in your case, what you have to do is just copy this feature register command and run it. And for me, it's showing it's registered. And if you haven't registered in your environment, and when you'll run this command, it will show you registering. And it takes a couple of minutes to get it registered. And once this is done, you can just close it, refresh your page, and then open the virtual machine scale set again. So you can look for virtual machine scale sets, create a new one. But the instance mix feature is available only in different regions like West US, US2, East US, East US2. So I'll create a resource group in that region first. Test RG VMSS. You can name it anything. VMSS01. And I'm choosing the East US region. And let's select all the availability zones. We are going to deploy in the availability zone. Now the orchestration mode I'm selecting is flexible because in the flexible, you can use the different type of virtual machine or multiple virtual machine type. As it's mentioned here, you can achieve high availability at scale with identical or multiple virtual machines. So I'm choosing the flexible. You can manually update the capacity, like the instance size should be 2 or more, or you can set up the auto scaling. If you go to configure, the default condition, we'll click here, edit. In the default condition, initial instance count will be 2, minimum is 2, maximum is 10. And if the CPU threshold is more than 80%, then it will scale out. And the instance count will increase by 1. And in the case of scale in, where it's reducing the number of the instance count based on the CPU threshold, if it's less than 20%, then decrease it by 1. And it should happen every 10 minutes. So if your CPU utilization is more than 80, so first 10 minutes, it will increase by 1. And then every 10 minutes, it's going to increase the number. And the maximum here will be 20. So the condition is already defined. Save. I'll use the Windows VM or I'll use the Ubuntu server. And in the size, you can see there is a preview feature available where you can select up to 5 different sizes. So I'm choosing one general purpose. Oh, another one is also selected, general purpose. Then D2S V2, which is D series virtual machine. And like compute optimized F series. So I've selected 4 only for now. You can select 5, but all these virtual machines will be created. Now, based on the allocation strategy, you can choose either the optimized capacity or the low price. So based on the demand, first it will go for the lower virtual machine or the highest virtual machine that you can choose. And you can't enable the hibernation in this case. Let's select the password for the authentication. So I'll use the Azure user and the password. I'm not going to select the spot instances. We'll just create the on-demand virtual machines. For the disk, let's just create the OS disk, which is by default 30 GB and no data disk. For the networking, because I don't have a virtual network in this region, so a new virtual network will be created. And this is the NIC card which will be created. So I'm not choosing the load balancing option for now because I'm not deploying any application. This is just to show that how the virtual machine scale set with the instance mix can be created. And I'm disabling the boot diagnostics, otherwise it will create a storage account for me. So you can enable the application health monitoring, all those details you can enable here. And in the spreading algorithm, the maximum spreading, it's based on the fault domains, how many fault domains it should go. But because we are deploying in the availability zone, so maximum spreading is recommended. In the fixed spreading, you can choose how many different fault domains to be used. But this is an availability zone, so maximum spreading has to be created. And if you want to deploy any VM applications, you can just add it here. Review and create, and it'll just do the final validation, and then I'll create the virtual machine scale set. And create. So the deployment has started now. I'll pause the video and we'll be back once the virtual machine scale set is deployed. It took a couple of minutes and now virtual machine scale set is deployed. So if we'll check the resource, NSG is created, virtual network, because we didn't have a virtual network. So we created a new one, and virtual machine scale set and the auto scaling rule. So let's go to the resource. The two instances, mix of size, two instances will be created. If you click on the instance, two virtual machines are created. So now if we'll go to scaling and manually scale to a specific instance limit, let's change it to 4 instance count and save it. And it's now updating the auto scaling configuration. And if we'll go to the instances now, you can see 2 more instances are created and all have the same size. The reason is because we have selected the allocation strategy as the lowest price. So whatever the lowest price VM is there, that is deployed. But if the demand is more, then automatically it will go to the higher price VMs, which we have selected. We have selected 4 SKUs, which you can find here. If we'll go to size, B2S, D2S V5, and B2S V2, and F2S V2. So these are the 4 different sizes. However, if I've chosen the capacity optimized, in that case, it would have chosen the high SKU VM because it has more high capacity and which is readily available. And based on this allocation strategy, this virtual machine scale set instance mix works on. And you can clearly see here that flex mix cannot be resized. So once the virtual machine scale set is created, it cannot be resized. And if we'll go to the virtual machines quickly, if I'll change the view and add availability zones, so you can see they are spread across availability zone. First, the 3, because there are 4 VMs, first they are deployed in the first availability zone and then move to another one. And if I'll go to virtual machine scale sets again, you can change your scaling configuration and reduce the number of the VM. And the scaling should be based on the metrics. However, just to show an example that it scaled from 2 to 4, I use the number of the instances. So that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much.